Hi, so if you're here watching this, you probably clicked on it because you wanted to build your own plywood tank, and basically this is going to be my how-to on it. And I did my plywood build as cheap as I possibly could because my intentions are for this tank just to be a grow out, and I intend to build another much bigger tank later on this year. So if you'd like to see the progress on that, you can follow my thread on Monster Fish Keepers or subscribe to this channel, and I'll keep you up to date as I get along. So let's get started. This is going to be a how-to and some advice that I wish somebody had told me along the way. The first thing was I got into building the stand. The stand is actually built with three rows underneath, and there are 2x4s spaced 16 inches on center with extras on the ends. My goal was to be able to actually have storage under the tank when I got done. I want to be able to, on the end, put in a slide drawer on both sides that'll go the entire length of the tank, turning the entire area underneath into a giant storage bin. That's really important when you have a household and every bit of space counts. On the top, I did double tier 2x4s. On the bottom is all leveled out. That's one thing I would like to point out I wish I had have done better, was leveling out the tank, because once you have 300 gallons in the tank, it's really hard to do. From there, we moved on to starting to build the tank. The top of my base has 1/2 inch plywood on top of it. From there, we added regular 3/4 inch plywood, and if you look at my photos, you'll see that it's nothing more than just regular standard 3/4 inch plywood. After going and seeing a couple of lobster tanks that people had built that were in the 600 gallon category, they were all built with fiberglass and regular 3/4 inch plywood, so I decided it worked for them, so it'll work for me. So first we decided to go and make the base. The base of it is 4 foot by 6 foot, and from there we built the side panels here along with the end pieces. We decided to go and do one end first and then wedge the two sides up against it. On the ends and on the underside there's a screw every 4 inches to 6 inches. I also used liquid nail in order to make sure that everything was sealed appropriately. So once these panels were onto here, and once the two end cap pieces were put on, then we came up top. On the inside, I built a 2x4 frame that runs all the way around, along with a 2x4 piece that's running across the center so that the front won't bow. I'll do a walk around on the tank at the end so that you can see all those parts. From there, I then cut out for the piece of glass. And one thing that I wish somebody had told me when I was originally looking into this is that glass cutting shops partially base the price of the glass on how many times they have to cut out of a sheet. When they have a sheet show up, it's 4 foot by 8 foot, which means the less times you make them cut it down to the size you want, the less you pay. So when I ordered up my piece of glass, I ordered it as 4 feet by 16 inches. So there's a 1 inch of sealant around the entire outside. From there, once I had this all cut out so that the glass piece could fit, and I had the top piece of frame done, from there I started sealing and fiberglassing the tank. Used fiberglass in order to seal up any pockets that were in the cheap plywood that I was using, so that everything would be a level surface. And then I went through and I did the corners first. I did a specific video on how to do the corners, so I'll post that up for you. You can click on that. And I started applying them. I did this build, the one thing I didn't skimp on was the fiberglass. When I did this build, I did it with marine grade fiberglass. And one thing I will tell you about marine grade versus automotive grade is there are two totally different strengths and capabilities. If you get regular automotive stuff on you, it doesn't burn, it's not that bad, you can peel it off later, things like that. If you get marine grade fiberglass on your skin, it will burn and give you a 1st to 2nd degree burn if you do not get it off, which is my advice here, is make sure when using marine grade fiberglass, you have baking soda on hand. If you get some on your skin, apply baking soda over the top of it, rub it into the fiberglass. It's going to look counterintuitive at first, and then all of a sudden it'll start to flake off and you can wash it off with regular water. So from there, we had the fiberglass mats done, and had I done this build again, I would have made this actually 3 foot tall instead of 2 foot, because then I would have been able to fit inside the tank much better than what I was able to with the 2 foot build. But I'm also 6'2", so fitting into any small space is not a comfortable idea anyway. From there, as you can see, the tank is not the color of fiberglass. That's because I didn't want it to be. They sell a lot of rubberized pond sealers and stuff that are almost $600 for a 5-gallon bucket. So I decided to switch over, and I used Insl-x. Insl-x you can buy at Home Depot, you can buy it at Lowe's. Most of the time you have to order it. It's a pond sealer. It is supposedly rubberized, which when you first get it and you apply it, it is rubbery. And they advertise as being rubberized. But what I discovered afterwards was that once it actually has water applied to it, it becomes extremely brittle and snaps right off. So when you're applying it to the fiberglass, the thing I wish I had have known was you need to go through and sand every single inch of fiberglass that you're going to paint it on, and make sure that it's roughed up with like about 160 to 180 grit sandpaper. And from there, I had a tragic experience of installing this glass, and once the glass was on, I thought it was all set, and I came down here about 2 weeks later after the tank was all set up and cycling, and I went to push on the glass and just tapping on it out of habit, and all of a sudden it sprung a leak. What I ended up discovering was that the silicone sealant, this aquamarine sealant from Marineland, will not seal to the pool paint. It seems as if it seals when you first do it, but over time it, for some reason, all of a sudden just lets go. So what I ended up having to do was I had to sand all of the outside edge in underneath here so that it would be the glass and the silicone sealing directly to the fiberglass, and it worked beautiful. It's perfectly fine, up and running as you can see, and holds water without any issues. From there, it was just a matter of waiting until everything dried up and then adding water. So now that the water is added in and everything's up and running, I'm gonna grab the camera and I'm gonna do one of those horrible walk around things with the camera, and we'll get you some footage of everything. If you like this, please subscribe so that when I do my big tank, you can follow me then and learn as I do. Have a good day.